Why is it so difficult to do the things that you know you need to do in order to improve your life and to grow closer to God and to fall in line with the will that He's called for your own life? Um, and the answer to that is because we yearn for what's familiar in our fleshly mindsets, in our worldly patterns, in our way of thinking. We cling on to what is familiar, and we find safety and comfort in the familiar. And the reason that is because our brains are wired to chase and grow closer towards this false sense of security in patterns of the world, because we know if we remain in a certain location, we'll receive a certain uh, it's almost as in a transaction, we'll receive a certain outcome, whether that is comfort, and that comfort can come in many different forms. So whether I'm staying in a physical location, at a job, in a relationship, I can expect to receive this foundation, or this fallback, this safety net. And the problem is that it's really dangerous, and very threatening to what God has called for our own lives. Because in that safety, that comfort, that complacency, it's what kills your motivation and your dreams. God hasn't called us to be like the world. He's called us to stand out of the world. So, in fact, when you step out in faith, that's when the world will persecute you and tell you that you're crazy, for making such a decision, because they don't understand and know God the way that we do. They don't understand and know Christ the way that we do. The Bible speaks of a peace that surpasses all understanding, and that peace that surpasses all understanding is not of this world, because this world teaches us that we have to behave and act and do in a certain way to receive the things that we want. But the Bible goes completely against that and tells us to just trust and have faith in God as Him being your provider. The world doesn't understand that God is the one who provides us these things, our sustenance, our roof, our income, our opportunity, our breath in our lungs, our ability to think logically and to speak and communicate and have relationship. These are all provisions of God. So, so long story short is, why are you afraid to do the things that you know God has called you to do? Because if you claim to know Christ and you claim to know His love, and you read the Bible and you see His character and what He's willing to do for you and what He does do for you already, why are you afraid? Why are you putting more faith in the world and the comfortability? I'm not even sure that's the right word. The comfortability of the world. Why are you putting your faith in that? As you know, we weren't meant to partake in the patterns of this world. The Bible tells us to be renewed, to not conform to the patterns of this world, but to be renewed in our minds. And that spiritual renewal can only be found in that no man's land, uh, of faith. What do I mean by that? When we step out of the patterns of this world and step out in faith, we're given two options: to either go back and grumble, like the Israelites did, in Exodus, um, or to trust that God is faithful and that He will lead us and provide. But in that process, that's what's so difficult and hard, is where our egos are shocked. It's like a culture shock, because every bone and motivation and flesh, and every piece of your flesh in your body wants to do it on your own. It wants to go back to the familiar. It wants to go back to safety and comfort. And this is why we have so much trouble with addiction and patterns and bad habits, is because our body just wants, our worldly mindset, our flesh, our sinful desires, and our sinful nature is trying to pull us back to these patterns. Meanwhile, God is calling us above these things, above it all, above the world, above these patterns, above our own biases and our limited perspective and understanding. And He's calling us above, and we have to trust. We have to trust that God is faithful. We have to trust, and it's not a blind trust. It's That's the importance of knowing his character and knowing who he is, and that he will provide for you. It's very, very important to understand that and to focus on that, and to not be distracted by the world. Because as soon as you lose sight of that, you fall back into the patterns of the world. You fall back into that old way of thinking. That old way of thinking. And God is calling you above all these things. He's calling you further. He's calling you into your calling. And of course, your ego and flesh is not going to like it. Of course, it's not going to be easy. That's the hardest part about it, is that you're going to have to look there. It's going to look different and be different than everyone else's calling. So, many are called, but few are chosen. So don't be surprised that your path is going to look different than everybody else's.